You're listening to Fox City's Murder and Mayhem, your bi-weekly dose of true crime history in a small rural community of Wisconsin.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Fox City's Murder and Mayhem. I'm Eric.
I'm Gavin.
And Gavin has been talking up this episode for at least 2 episodes now, right? Am I off on that?
I don't know, but I've been
feels
pretty
like
excited about it.
Yeah, you've been talking about the Hortonville episode for a long time.
Yeah.
So
this episode is called Big Trouble in Little Hortonville.
What a clever name.
I really like this episode. Not, is it going to be our best episode ever? I don't know. But what I love about it is I think this is a major event, and I had never heard of it.
And that's just crazy. Because generally, my experiences is Gavin will be like, he'll say like, yeah, this and this happened. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, how do you not know that? And I'm like, Gavin, nobody knows that. Only you know that.
Yeah, this seems like this should be better known.
So what era are we going into here?
This is the 70s. And actually we're gonna violate my 50-year rule. It's gonna be slightly less than 50 years ago, but that's whatever.
Yeah, I mean, at a certain point, 47, 50 years.
Yeah,
it's like
47 years ago. So I think we're okay.
Yeah.
All right. This is going to be the story of Dennis Thorpe. So Dennis Thorpe, I'm just going to call him Dennis throughout this episode. Dennis was born in 1948 in Appleton. The family ran an antique and coin collecting business near Hortonville. Dennis was a graduate of Hortonville High School in 1966. His classmates would later say that he was not involved in any extracurricular activities and he had no close friends.
Okay.
So he went to school, graduated, and left.
And collected coins, apparently, right?
Yep. He worked with the family business. Shortly after graduation, he lost control of his vehicle and hit a tree, or other articles said utility pole, but one way or another, he hit something near an intersection in Hortonville. He wasn't injured, but when police arrived, they found that he was quite drunk. He was fined $175 for drunk driving, and his license was revoked for 1 year. I did the math. Today, that would be being fined like $1,700. Not having anything better to do, he joined the U.S. Army.
Because that's what you do.
That's what you do. He joined in December 1967. Now, it's possible that he didn't have a choice. I mean, this was early Vietnam, so it could have been against his will. Yeah. But he joins the Army in December 1967. He would later write in a school newspaper, quote, while waiting on orders to my new assignment, I spent approximately 45 days as a mess hall orderly at Aberdeen Proving Grounds in Maryland through July to August 1968. Remembering those drudgerous days working in full uniform while the sweat literally ran off my body sickens me to this very day. Nevertheless, I worked continuously under conditions for a month and a half straight, which no one in their right mind would work voluntarily for any wages. Had I ever spilt any hot coffee on a non-com or an officer, I probably would have spent another 45 days on KP. This is the only thing I have where he actually reflects on his time in the military. Was apparently being stuck in kitchen duty.
That sounds very familiar.
Military
experience.
Have you had to do KP?
I have, yeah.
Is it fun?
No, it's not.
Okay.
I mean, it's fine. I had a good job, so it was pretty easy. But
okay. For a while during his time, he was stationed in Germany. He was trained as a machinist and honorably discharged in 1970 as an E5. We don't know what he saw or did. What he talks about is kitchen duty, and we know he was stationed in Germany, so it doesn't sound like he did anything terrible. But people would later say that his military time turned him into an alcoholic. So it's possible that he was in Vietnam or somewhere for a while, and we just don't know that. Or just military in general made him an alcoholic. I don't know.
I can also contest that I think that the military does a very good job of turning people into alcoholics. So
okay.
That's just my personal experience. but I've seen a lot of people go into the military, not an alcoholic, and come out.
Doesn't have to be traumatic. It's just,
no.
All right.
Just kind of the culture.
Yeah. After getting out, he was traveling north on State 76 near Stevensville. He lost control of his vehicle, crossed over the median and hit another person who was going south. They were both brought to the hospital. He had head injuries, while the other person had neck, jaw, chest, and knee injuries. No indication on if this was alcohol-related or if just bad driving. At some point in the early 1970s, he worked at Neenah Foundry. In September 1974, Dennis moves from Hortonville to Oshkosh to attend UW Oshkosh.
How old is he at this point in time?
He would be mid-20s.
Okay.
He lived at 579 North Main Street in Oshkosh, which is a really cool building called the Dempsey Building. I'm a big fan of Oshkosh architecture, and that building is a sweet building.
Okay.
I am. I love Oshkosh architecture. In October 1975, he was in New London and fled an officer, reaching speeds of 90 miles an hour through the city.
Wow, he loves his reckless driving, I guess. Huh?
Yeah. He was caught and put in jail for 30 days. At UW Oshkosh, he worked for the Advanced Titan newspaper, which got him acquainted with employees of the Appleton Post-Crescent. I don't know exactly how, but I'm guessing the student paper must have connections with the other regional newspapers.
Before you go any further, swing back to the 90-mile-an-hour speed limits.
Yes.
We do not know if this was alcohol related or this was
We
definite.
do not know.
Okay.
We do not know. Crystal Schulz, who was another newspaper employee, said, quote, he would work for several hours more per week beyond what they would pay him. He edited copy and was good at it. But when he was stuffing inserts in the paper, he would just sit and mumble to himself. He didn't make any friends while at the newspaper, but he gained 2 nicknames.
Oh, God.
Some people would call him Mount Thorpe because he was very tall, and other people would call him Johnny Smoke because he would just chain smoke the whole time he was in the newspaper office. Graduated from UW Oshkosh in June 1978 with a journalism degree. Between graduation and the end of summer, he could not find a job, and he somehow racked up $13,000 in debt. I don't have a clue how he got that debt, because college is not the same in the 70s as it is today. He should not have
spent $13,000.
Yeah, $13,000 in student loans in the 70s would be an obscene amount of money. Okay. So I don't know where that came from. It's 1978. He's graduated. He can't find a job. So he's back in Hortonville living with his parents. Hortonville in 1978 was a small village. It still kind of is. Mm-hmm. At that time, it had about 1,500 residents. So, not a lot. Over 1,000, less than 2,000. But they were about to have big trouble.
Okay.
On August 10th, 1978. I
can't even imagine what this is going to be.
I'm sorry. This isn't funny, but it's fun. After lunch that day, Assistant Village Clerk Arlene Kringle returned to her office unaware that anything was going on. Inside, she found Dennis Thorpe.
Okay.
Dennis approached her with a shotgun and said, "Don't come in, I'll blow your head off. I just want Doug Jones." Doug Jones is the Hortonville chief of police.
Okay.
Kringle left and heard 4 shots as she walked out. Later estimates would say that day, Dennis fired between 30 and 40 shots, and he also kicked glass out of doors. Village employees Cindy Borkert and Becky Morehouse were briefly trapped in the building, but were able to escape with Dennis's permission. He told Morehouse to exit out a back door and told Borkert that she was pretty, so she could stay with him, but she had to call Chief Doug Jones. Another employee, Neil McLeod, walked through the building at one point, apparently completely unaware that anything was going on. Chief Jones was reached at home, and then Dennis shook the employee's hand, said that she could go out that same back door.
This was the one that he said could stay because she was good looking?
Yes.
Okay.
More than 24 police officers surrounded the building. So, I didn't make this very clear, but the village hall also contains the police department.
Okay.
So, he has now single-handedly, taken over the entire Hortonville city government.
Okay.
Nobody has been injured to this point, but he's fired off his shotgun numerous times. He's smashing things. So that's fun.
And is he holding any hostages at this point, or did he more or less just take over the building and let everybody out?
Pretty much the building.
Okay.
Yeah. He hasn't kept anybody more than a few minutes.
Okay.
So more than 24 police officers are surrounding the building. Dennis popped his head out around 2 o'clock. He had been there for over an hour at that point. And he told the police officers, "I want Doug." He yelled out that he hated Chief Jones because he discriminated against Indians. I don't know that Dennis Thorpe is an Indian.
Okay, I was just going to ask that question. So
he might be. I don't know that one way or the other, but I don't know.
That's a really bizarre thing to say if you're not Native American, right? I mean,
he then fired his shotgun again, more or less blowing off the front door of the village hall. Dennis's mother called the village hall to speak with her son. He answered, talked to her for a bit, but she was unable to talk him out of holding the hall,
whatever he was doing.
Yeah. She later told the press, quote, "He was drunk. And what can you say to a person who's drunk? They don't make any sense. When he's drinking, he always hollers about Doug Jones. He gets terribly depressed at times because he's an alcoholic." A Post-Crescent editor called the village hall, and Dennis answered. And he said, "I'm going to kill them today. Doug Jones, I'm going out of here dead. I'm not going out of here any other way. Either I kill him or he kills me." The siege, as they called it, lasted about 5.5 hours, and it ended at 6:15 p.m. When things became quiet, police threw tear gas canisters inside. Sheriff Kelvin Spice of Kaukauna and 3 officers entered and found Dennis passed out drunk in a chair with a brandy bottle nearby.
Wow.
According to the chief, quote, "He had been drinking heavily and a bottle of brandy was in there. We hadn't heard any noise for a couple of hours and he apparently went to sleep. He's got a drinking problem.
I would say so.
I had arrested him about a year ago for disorderly conduct, and that was the last contact I had with him. I know him pretty well. He goes to my church. Dennis had a problem while he was in the Marines, and now he's been drinking a lot. His dad died about a year ago, but he had the drinking problem before that."
Now, is this the chief, the Kaukauna chief, or is this the actual chief that he wanted to kill?
This is the chief he wanted to kill.
Okay.
Dennis was brought to St. Elizabeth Hospital, treated for cuts and for breathing in tear gas. Apparently it's not good for you. His cuts were minor. They were apparently from like glass that had shattered while he was smashing things. When he first appeared in court, he was charged with damaging property and endangering safety. His bond was set at $20,000. He sat quiet with a bandage on his right eye and in a green army jacket and blue jeans. The chief spoke to the press again after this. Quote, "It's still a mystery why it happened. I know the family well, and I've talked to most of them since this happened. Personally, I don't think he was trying to kill me. Otherwise, he would have waited until I came to the door instead of just firing at random." His hearing was scheduled for August 22nd. Then it was pushed back to August 30th. So kind of dragged on for a bit. And then finally, trial was set for December 4th with the felony charge of reckless use of a weapon and 2 misdemeanor charges of damage to private property and damage to public property. The damage to public property was the building. The private property was apparently he damaged the car in the parking lot from one of the shots that he fired.
Okay.
Goes on trial. There's nothing really strange that happens during the trial. He's found guilty. Now, here's the most bizarre thing of this entire story. This is not a long story, but but this is a bizarre thing to me. He was sentenced to 2 years in prison, plus given credit for the time he had already spent in jail since being picked up.
Okay.
So he would ultimately serve maybe about a year. Now, this is the thing I don't get.
I would have assumed they would have just given him everything and anything they possibly could. Because it was on a public building.
Exactly. I don't get this. Now, maybe 1978 was a different time.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I feel like if I walk into City Hall with a shotgun, start shooting up the place, and screaming to everybody that I want to kill the police chief, I'm going to get in some serious trouble.
Yeah, like, you're not thinking 12 months in prison in this scenario.
No.
You're thinking you're lucky to walk out of there alive.
Well, yeah, that's absolutely right. It is kind of, since you say that, it is kind of surprising that they didn't at some point like storm the building and just shoot him.
But I think the reason probably they didn't do that because he was so unviolent. He did nothing. Like,
well,
I mean,
no,
he held a building hostage for 5 hours, but he let everybody out of the building and stuff like that.
Right.
So I'm wondering if that's why it went.
Maybe. Yeah, he didn't hurt anybody, but that's still like, I don't know. And part of this, I think, has to be because the laws are different. Because today, you would absolutely, I feel, be charged with some kind of like a terrorism thing.
Yeah.
Because like this maybe isn't terrorism, like, you know, you're crashing a plane or something, but you're definitely using violence against like a political entity. Like this scared the hell out of, you know, a handful of people here, and it's a serious business. But yeah, apparently you can go in, shoot up the city hall, tell everybody you're going to kill the police chief, and you can get less than 2 years. So
did nobody actually even get hurt or in this incident?
Nobody got hurt other than the little damage he did to himself. So
to himself and then property damage.
Yep.
Wow, that's crazy. Now, first of all, this seems like it would just be folklore around here. Like we would hear about this story all the time because it's just so weird.
Yeah.
And the other part I find is that, do we ever come to a conclusion why he did any of this?
No.
I mean, all we know is that he was mad at the police chief, but like, what did the police chief
We're not even really clear why.
Yeah.
Like, it's very strange. Yeah, that's the thing. That's why, like, again, even though ultimately, like, it wasn't maybe the biggest deal in the world because nobody got hurt and everything, that's my point exactly, is like this should have somehow become legend.
Yes.
That some guy like barricaded himself into a city hall and was firing off a shotgun for 5 hours. Like, this should have been a big deal.
Right, exactly. And I mean, this just kind of reminds me very much similar to the Appleton Butcher story, where it's like, how do we all not know that 30 years ago people were finding pieces of some guy's body all over
town? That story,
town?
I think, is pretty well known.
I guess, as opposed to this story.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you were always aware of that story. You didn't even know this one existed.
No, I had never heard of this until recently.
Now, how did you find out about this story?
This came up indirectly. I was working on something about the sheriff, and the sheriff was talking. They interviewed him when he retired, and he had talked about like the biggest things that he had done, and he told them the two biggest things that had happened during his career. And he had been sheriff for like 25 years. He said the two biggest things both happened in Hortonville. And so he didn't even like go into detail. He just said Dennis Thorpe. So apparently at the time people would have known what that was. Mm-hmm. And then the other Hortonville thing, which we'll probably cover in a future episode, which was a strike that went violent. So we will probably cover that down the road.
This is a crazy story, because we've never heard of it. But the other thing is just like, why did it happen? And
yeah,
I mean, it sounds like it's just this guy is one of those people that just gets weird when he's drunk and does really, really horrible things.
Yeah.
But it's just, there has to be some motivation behind that horrible thing, right?
Yeah.
You don't just do horrible things. There's a reason people do it, and there just seems to be no evidence of that in this story.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's always more things that we'd like to know. And I don't know, like, why, according to his mom, every time he drinks, he hollers about Doug Jones. Yeah. I don't know. Like, it's weird because, at one point, maybe I didn't even put it in the notes, but at one point, he was complaining that he got pulled over for drunk driving one time. And he was really mad about it. And they asked him if he was drunk. And he says, well, yeah. So it's like, it's not even like he's accusing them of like targeting him. Like, he knows he has a drinking problem.
And he's like, why can't you just leave me alone and let me drive myself drunk everywhere?
Yeah.
So now I don't remember. Did you say so? Because he didn't spend, obviously, he spent a shockingly small amount of time in prison for this. Did he just get out and live a silent life after that? For the most part?
Did not.
Oh, is there more to this yet?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
No, that's okay. So he's sentenced to the 2 years, which again, it's not really 2 years. He apologized to the people of Hortonville. He apologized to the Outagamie County Sheriff's Department. He apologized to everybody. They suggested he go for treatment for his alcohol problem, but even the people at the treatment facility were kind of like, they weren't sure if they wanted him because he had tried that before, and they said treatment really only works if you want treatment. Like, if you show up and you don't want to be treated, we can't do anything for you. So apparently he had previously tried it and it didn't do anything because he's like, I don't want to be here. Mm-hmm. So he gets out. Now, according to his obituary, he was a program information officer with the Outagamie County CETA office in the 1980s. I do not know what that is.
Okay.
I tried to figure it out, and I'm not entirely sure. But assuming that's accurate, the part that really caught my attention there is he apparently goes to work for the county? And, like, really? Like, that's weird that they would hire him, but apparently he went to work for the county. But it couldn't have been very long because he's going to get in trouble again. And this part, there's nothing funny about the rest of this. So I can't even, like, be silly about it. In 1984, he became friends with an agent from the State Department of Justice, who I'm assuming did not know was an agent of the State Department of Justice.
Okay.
October 10th, 1984, the agent was invited to Thorpe's apartment, which was at 623.5 West College Avenue. I did not bother to look up what building that's above, but it's, right downtown Appleton. Dennis sold him a magazine for $100. The magazine contained images of children engaging in sexually explicit conduct.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
So now he's picking up a new hobby.
Yeah. So nothing further happened at this time, but then months later, the agent was again at his apartment and the topic of magazines came up. They were going to exchange magazines again, but then the agent revealed himself to be an agent and arrested him. A variety of illegal material was found in the apartment. Following his arrest, he was fingerprinted, photographed, and told to have no contact with children. He was released on bond by the court commissioner. A preliminary hearing was set, and he was facing 2 counts of selling child pornography, which could have given him up to 20 years in prison. So this is far more serious. Not again. I don't want to make light of this because there's absolutely nothing you can make light of about this. But the 20 years in prison, is pretty serious compared to what he got for what he did before.
So why do you think that he got this magazine from this guy months and then waited months before he arrested him? Did they explain at all why he would do that? Because I feel like you get somebody with child porn, I mean, you got him. The penalties for this are so extreme that you don't need to give much evidence to.
The article didn't really go into much detail at all. I'm sure that would be covered more in any police reports and that sort of thing. My guess is just to kind of see if this is a thing, or just like a weird one-off situation.
Or maybe just trying to...
Or possibly seeing how involved he is in this sort of thing.
Maybe getting further back in the stream of things to okay, where is this guy getting these magazines from or something like that. Yeah. You thinking?
So he pleaded no contest. He didn't even plead guilty. He just no contest to 1 count of selling child pornography. The second count was dismissed by the judge. He was placed not in 20 years in prison, but 4 years of probation. The pre-sentence investigation did not actually recommend he go to prison. They said that Dennis was not a threat to the public. The judge was kind of lenient with him because he said the sale of the magazine was solicited by the undercover agent. Mm-hmm. So he's like, we don't really have any evidence here that Dennis is making these magazines. He's not spreading them around town. This happened to be the agent found out that he had one and asked to buy it. He did sell child pornography, but that's not what he does. He doesn't go around selling child pornography. So he's like, this is relatively minor. Here's the really weird part of this.
Okay.
I am going to quote, this is the newspaper. I'm going to quote this. Quote, simple possession of materials containing child pornography is not a crime, the judge stated. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say this law must have changed.
Yeah, because that is not right today.
So apparently in the 80s, you could have all the child pornography you wanted. You just couldn't sell it.
Could you give it away? I mean, I can't even imagine you could pass it along even.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but but simple possession, not a crime. Selling a crime, obviously making it would be a crime because it would be things you shouldn't do involving children. But that is so bizarre to me that apparently as long as you just had it, but you weren't the one who made it, totally legal. It can't be right, but the judge said it, so I guess the laws were different.
And it would be really interesting to know, like, what happened that pushed the change of this law, too. You know, because, I mean, you can correct me on this, but I don't think politicians are out there actively trying to improve things. Something happens, and then they react and improve something.
That's such a cynical point of view. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what changed things. I suspect in this case, it could go one of two ways. It could be, like you're saying, something happened and then they're like, well, that's not right. And they tried to correct it.
Mm-hmm.
Or it could have just been, there were situations like this and people were like, why are they even allowed to do that in the first place?
yeah, that could be too. It's just we had a string of these, and people are like, "That's really stupid. They should not be able to even have it."
Because I mean, you're right. A lot of times when laws are passed, it's a reaction to something that the public got really outraged about.
Right.
Like that is kind of how it works sometimes. Yes, but I don't know if that's what happened here. Because I don't even know if it would take that. It might be as simple as just somebody telling their legislator, being like, hey, do you know it's legal to have, like, magazines of naked children? Like, why? And you know, and if somebody brought that a bill in to make that illegal, I don't think they'd get a lot of pushback. I feel like they wouldn't be like, regardless of what your political views are, I don't think you're going to get somebody pushing back and then be like, well, no,
we have to allow that.
Yeah.
You know?
I can't imagine who would be taking that side.
Yeah.
So I do not know how the law changed, but that definitely struck me, that line in the article. I was like, really? Like, how is that possible?
All right. So do we have any other more colorful tales that he is involved in?
After that, no.
Okay, good, man.
Doug Jones stays on as the chief of police for Hortonville up through 1991. So Doug Jones was the chief forever.
Yeah.
And Dennis passes away at his home in November 2008. He was 60 years old. So he didn't make it to an old age. He just made it to a...
Yeah, and... based on the level of drinking that he seems like was probably doing and doesn't seem like he ever fully got over it, I would say he did pretty good to make it to 60.
I suppose.
So,
but yeah, see, that's a shame because it's all the other stuff we can be forgiving and we can be like, okay, you know, alcoholism does terrible things to a guy. Alcoholism doesn't make you a child pornographer. That no matter how much you drink, that doesn't happen. So that was unfortunate. Yeah, I didn't know that when I started writing this episode, and then I found out, and I was like, "Oh, that takes a lot of the fun out of this one." But I still think it's a story that needs to be told, so we're telling it.
Yeah, definitely, and again, it's just crazy that these stories happen. 20 minutes away from us, and like they're just lost in time. That's insane. Yeah. I mean, a police station being held up for 5 hours. I guess it wasn't just a police station, but
no, but it included the police station.
Yeah. Exactly. So,
like, how do you do that? Like, that's wild.
I have no idea, man.
Yeah.
And it just kind of makes you think, like, what's the next few years going to bring? Like, what's the next weird story you're going to unsurface?
I don't know. I know that what the next episode probably is because you've told me what the next episode probably is.
Do you want to talk about the next episode? Or are you not far enough into the research to really say much?
I mean, we can talk about it vaguely, you know, give them a hint. So, simply put, it's this. I'm assuming this is the next episode because you told me to make it.
I'm assuming it involves airplanes.
Yes.
Yes.
So we've got a father and a son with the same name. So senior and junior, who were both involved in fatal plane crashes.
Yes.
So
completely different. Not the same fatal plane crash. completely different areas, and
Yeah,
like
two different crashes decades apart.
yeah, which is just ironic.
Yeah.
Which also, I think we can add, was brought to us by a person that was involved in the Dale story.
Yes.
Well, she wasn't involved in the Dale story, but her family was involved in the Dale story.
Yes. Which that's that Dale story, I'll tell you.
It just
So yeah, I was hesitant to do it originally, not because it's not a good story. It's a great story, but it was one of those things where like it was an explosion that happened. It was like a 30-second thing. It wasn't intentional, so there's not even a crime involved. So I'm like, how do you turn this into a full episode? Found a way to do it. And then now we've had people reach out with stories that have come up because of it. Not directly related, but they've come up because of this. So there's going to be at least like 2 more stories that come out of us having done the Dale story.
So whenever you have an episode, Gavin, that you're hesitant about, don't follow your instincts.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah. Well, and it wasn't that I didn't want to do it. It was just how do I make it? How do I make it fit into our format? But once we found a way, then it worked out.
And it was a good episode, and apparently it was a good episode because a lot of people followed up on that episode. So.
I do not get a lot of feedback on this podcast, but that one apparently caught people. So,
all right. Well, with that, then we can wrap this episode up. We will be back in 2 weeks with another episode, and we want to thank everybody for their continued support of this podcast. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to Fox City's Murder and Mayhem. Join us in 2 weeks for another exciting episode of Murder and Mayhem.